Medusa can deal 300,000 bleed damage per minute. Forever. Medusa has the ability to armor shatter her opponent after applying 6 armor breaks or using her special 3. While the enemy's armor is shattered, Medusa's critical light attacks have a 100% chance to apply a small bleed. The bleeds seem fairly weak at first glance. According to its description, the bleeds deal less than 52 direct damage per second. That's only 26 bleed per tick. But this number is influenced by Masteries, Synergies, and her own Furies. You can see it ticking here for up to 92 based on number of Furies active, and I'm not even boosted. But wait, 92? That's still not too impressive and very far away from the 300,000 per minute that I claimed was possible. So what gives? Well, notice how the bleed icon doesn't have a timer on it. That bleed will last as long as the opponent's armor is shattered. Until death. Not only that, but you can stack 30 of these individual bleeds. 30 permanent bleeds. I call this the Perma Bleed Medusa style. Let's do some math, shall we? 92 on one individual bleed. If you have 30 of these bleeds stacked up, you're dealing 2,760 bleed every half second, or 5,520 every second, which is 331,200 bleed per minute. Not all bleeds are the same, however. Your bleed takes a snapshot of your attack at the time of applying and won't go up or down based on how your attack changes thereafter. Because of this, I try to end combos with light attacks since you need light critical hits when I have 4 to 6 Furies active to lessen the ramp-up time and apply the most powerful bleeds. Looking at the enemy, it's difficult to see just how much bleed damage you're causing since all of these bleed numbers don't stack up with one another. But I do think it's more fun to see the numbers flying like this anyway. At the end of this fight, I'll let the bleed damage take over so you can see Star-Lord's life percentage dropping without me attacking. Even the most stacked enemies in Labyrinth of Legends have just under 3.4 million life. That means that this massive 330,000 bleed damage is approximately 10% of their total HP every minute, or about 1% of their life every 6 seconds. If you've ever been in some of these super long Labyrinth fights, then you know just how powerful that actually is. Combine this bleed damage with the fact that your basic attacks are hitting pretty hard due to armor shatter always being active, and you have yourself a Labyrinth slaying machine capable of bringing down enemies before they hit the enrage timer. But it's not all butterflies and sunshine with Medusa here. There's some very clear downsides to this style of play. First off, you're using a special 3 every 30 seconds, and as badass as her special 3 looks, it's still a 12-second animation. And although it can deal over 40,000 damage with some Furies active, your bleeds aren't doing anything during that time. Those 12 seconds equate to about 60,000 bleed damage that you're missing out on while watching Medusa get up close and personal with her hairy swords. Or even worse, what if the target's bleed immune? Luckily, you can still crit for over 10,000 if you have armor shatter active, so you'll suffer a bit, but it's not that bad, I suppose. Plus, some of the bleed immune targets just so happen to be robots, which armor shatter has some additional very powerful effects against. But I'll save that for another video. The last big downside is that it can sometimes be difficult to juggle armor shatters. Playing aggressively to quickly fire off special 3s can be thwarted by an opponent who's sitting at 2 bars of power and just won't use their special. At first I thought this meant that you had to play aggressively and wild in order to keep these armor shattered and bleed debuffs going, a playstyle that can quickly get you into trouble. But here's where you can truly see the absolute beauty in Medusa's character design as all of her abilities come together. You don't have to play aggressively and wild. You get to. As long as you have 3 Furies active, you can go nuts and let Medusa take the wheel if you slip up and get caught intercepting. Her auto block will not only save you, but will also give you another opening with a parry. But wait, it gets better. Do you guys remember when a certain very powerful defensive mastery got nerfed? No, not willpower. I'm talking about the underrated mastery right next to it, inequity. You see, it didn't always have this damage reduction cap on it, and at the time, Kabam said this change was made to prevent game-breaking things from happening. Like, oh, I don't know. Maybe Medusa here applying 30 plus debuffs that would have reduced enemy attack to 0, perhaps? Can you imagine all of the tears in the community if Medusa was released before inequity got changed? Tears we'll never get to see. Inequity is still extremely powerful for this playstyle. One point in this mastery will reduce the enemy's attack by 2% per debuff, with a cap of 36%. Since we're applying 30 plus debuffs, 1 point is all we need to reduce all incoming damage by 36%. Just 1 point for 36% damage reduction. And just a quick little side note, the Despair Mastery is another one of these 1-point wonders for Medusa if you're looking to cut the enemy's healing. But back on topic. Pick up the Resonate Mastery right next to Inequity and you can lower the enemy's attack by another 13% for a combined total of 49%. Cutting the enemy's attack in half like this further enables you to go berserk, making even their special attacks feel like they tickle in comparison to what they are normally capable of. Finding spare points for these defensive masteries is easy since the Perma Bleeds aren't affected by Deep Wounds or Assassin, and I already had willpower since I'm running Suicides. There are some additional methods of damage reduction that I'm taking advantage of here as well, including 6.5% physical resistance and plus 130 armor rating from this synergy with Black Bolt and Cyclops, bringing my armor from about 21% damage reduction to 25%. Speaking of synergies, you'll notice that I'm not using a power gain team in this video. This team's set up with the royal family of Black Bolt and Karnak, plus the mutant synergies of Magneto and Cyclops, gives attack, crit, health, and armor. There are two other synergy variations that I recommend trying. The first is a simple swap of taking out Cyclops in favor of Wolverine. The Wolverine variation gives more crit, but less attack and no armor. Crit rating doesn't increase bleed damage, but remember that to trigger these bleeds, you have to land a critical hit with your light attacks, so the bleeds will stack faster with more crit. Plus, due to the large amount of plus attack that you already gained from Masteries, Synergies, and Furies, this crit team may provide more overall damage. The final synergy team that I recommend is a power gain team that will make it easier to keep up armor shatter. This team also has Archangel in it, known for his great utility inside of the Labyrinth. The additional power gain is nice, but with enough practice, it may not be necessary. But I do enjoy all three setups and recommend trying them all to see what works best for you. It takes a bit of practice, but in the right hands, this Perma Bleed Medusa style can be both incredibly powerful and fun. Look at that. Plenty of time left on the Enrage timer. Let's watch Star-Lord bleed out together, shall we? Oh, Star-Lord, throwing a special 2 out of desperation. That's just sad. I've been getting a lot of questions about what my next big goal is now that my Act 5.4 Legends run is over. And I'll share that goal soon enough. But for now, let's just say I was confident in making Medusa my first rank 5 for a reason.